Please take your seats. The program will begin shortly. Please take your seats. The program will begin shortly. Please welcome to the stage UN Secretary General's SDG advocate and UN Environment Program Goodwill Ambassador, Dia Mirza.
Wow. Good evening. As a proud member of the United Nations family, I'd like to welcome you all to the halftime show of the Sustainable Development Goals at the 78th General Assembly of the United Nations. That was an amazing performance, and it was everything we needed to lift our spirit and get this evening going. And I'm just so grateful that we got to hear from the Brooklyn United Music and Arts Program. You can give them one more big round of applause. It's a huge honor to be here today at the United Nations, our United Nations, that of all people, both here and at the General Assembly this week and around the world. And it's a wonderful time to see so many committed supporters of the goals in this SDG Pavilion. This pavilion is a setting to mark a moment. 2023 is the halfway mark for the SDGs. The plan agreed at the United Nations in 2015 by every country to set the world on the path for a more equitable and sustainable future for all people everywhere. The fact is, there have been many challenges to the goals, and we are not where we wanted to be at this point. We all know that feeling of being behind at halftime, of being confronted by setbacks. But halftime can be a moment when we decide to turn things around, an opportunity to regroup, reflect, and recommit to going the distance and winning. Tonight's halftime is that moment. Tonight, we commit to supercharging the process and getting the goals back on track. We must imagine winning and make it happen. And who better to launch this ambition than the co-host of the halftime show and Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed.
Okay. Oh my goodness, look at how many friends I've got in here, partners in crime, and I have this piece of paper and I have that screen, and Mia said to me, don't you dare read that. So sometimes I take instruction. This is an amazing time. It's one that we worried about. We didn't know if people would come to the UN halfway through. I have to tell you, we have a few leaders who should be here who are not going to be here, but that's okay, because there are so many other leaders, and they need to know that we're not waiting. There's 7 years to go. My team tell me that the game is never won in the first half, it's the second half. And so we're going to win it with 17 goals by 2030. But it's each and every one of you that comes here that means so much to us, because we do say, and I constantly say, this hall, this town hall belongs to the people. It says we the people. And often we forget that, and we say member states. And yes, member states, but those leaders have millions of people back home. And they are leaders because those people put them in place in most places. So they owe us. They owe us to deliver on the promise. And when you all come here, the voices I've heard over the weekend for women, for rights, we're 75 years old with the Human Rights Charter this year, but for the voices that we don't often hear, and there are many of you in this audience that represent those voices. The work that we do in the field, each one of you has a talent, each one of you has a different voice, a different story, and when you bring it here and you raise that voice and that momentum, what happens is leaders hear. And I know a couple of leaders who told me yesterday that they were leaving on Wednesday. Yesterday they told me that. This morning they're staying till Saturday. So this is you, keeping people in the room. And I think they felt it. They felt young voices, they felt civil society, but we also brought in issues that we didn't have in 2015, and that is technology. It is an era where AI is very real. Many of us in the UN don't really understand it, but we know it's here. I mean, the other day someone told me, look, you've got to just ask, ChatGPT stuff and it tells you. And I thought, wow, what's going to happen to our speechwriters? Anyway, it doesn't work without human beings, and you've got to have a heart. So it is amazing to be in your company today. It is going to be an amazing evening because we are going to hear from people who will speak to our hearts and minds, because as I said to Yo-Yo, who always wears our SDG ring, it is you speaking to our hearts and minds. It's influencers who go out with our menu, our set of global goals, and they say it in ways that we can never say it, because in the UN, a sentence here is like a paragraph, and it sounds really good, and at the end you don't quite know what we've said. But when you take that, and people like Lily Singh just explain it, and you think, yeah, that's what we mean. So we need you more than ever. And it is now that we have to step up, step out, and we also have to bring the world with us. And, what else can I say? We can do it, and we're going to start today. So today is the first day of the rest of our lives, and we're going to go deliver the promise on the 2030 agenda. Thank you all for joining us.
Amina, thank you for listening, because what you said was from the heart, and it allows me to continue from where you left off. And that's what is required, a relay race, the passing of a baton. And the truth is that I could get here and talk to you about finance, and that would probably be my role as Prime Minister, but guess what? We've understood that the biggest block to finance being unlocked is the lack of political will. And there's only one way to unlock political will: by getting all of us together to put the pressure on in the corridors of power where it needs to be put. I've always said that artists determine the possible and governments do the probable. If you don't work to help us redefine what this world must look like, what this world must feel like, what this world must sound like, then we're not going to make it. And as Amina said, we can win this in the second half, but it now requires us working together. I want to ignore all of you in this room for a minute. And I want to talk to that little boy in Nairobi. And I want to talk to that little girl in St. George's, Grenada. And I want to talk to that grandmother in Santiago, in Chile. And I want to talk in India to those people who are doing their best to be able to reorient what their rights are for all of their girl children. Why? Because you're the ones we're fighting for. Not just the planet, but for you. When we went to Paris, we said that it wasn't only important to just focus on the planet, because we could save the planet and we could lose every single one who matters to build out these countries and these societies. And therefore, people and planet are indivisible. Regrettably, it's not seen that way in most bureaucratic institutions and some governments. But we have to remind them that without life, there is nothing. Without heart, there is nothing. And without the ability to shape it, we can go nowhere. This effort, Amina, that you have invested so much of your life in with so many other people, from the MDGs to the SDGs, is the essence of why we come to work every day to remove injustice and to be able to build a platform for prosperity. I am honored tonight to be associated with the artists and the creative minds. And Richard, I have watched in awe as you have unfolded the messaging in these campaigns, because you've understood that it is hearts that move people and not necessarily always logic. And in this world where we are close to 8 billion, we have to find a way of making the first 100 million our ambassadors, because with each 100 million, then we can ultimately reach out and make the 8 billion. Now, you're absolutely correct. Prime ministers and heads of state will not do it. And therefore, those of you who know how to sing in tune and to cause people to remember the tune, if not the lyrics initially, and those of you who get people to be wowed by your actions on a sporting field, you are the true global ambassadors. Nobody asks you about visas when you want to travel, because we're all interested in seeing you and hearing you. But your message now must matter, because if you don't get that message to matter, you're going to have to look for a different planet to live on, and you're going to have to be able to deal with the inhospitable nature of other societies that just simply don't want to see migrants. This world has perfected the art of the movement of global capital, but it does not see people to perfect the protection for migrants. It is our duty to change it. Every religion says we must honor the dignity of each life. How do we so forget it when we walk into the corridors of power? I want, therefore, to reach out to everyone who hears my voice, to be able to say that you too have the power and the agency to help us win this match, and to make sure that we can eliminate poverty, to make sure that that basic need of feeding people daily can be dealt with. And Eddie, I'm not sure if Eddie's here tonight, but Eddie said something yesterday that was so powerful. And yes, we'll listen to Michael Jackson and hear Heal the World, but will we live it? And will we make sure that we can do the healing coming out of this pandemic crisis and all of the other crises that we're facing, things that cause people not to be able to walk with certainty into tomorrow? So let's turn it around and let's make that difference. I'm confident that we can, and I'm confident that human civilization has before. And I'm asking us now, don't leave it to governments. Don't leave it only to those in power. You have the agency of change, as Mahatma Gandhi told us. But don't just talk it, walk it. And Rocky, you had a song that talked that same thing, walk the talk. And you also told us about the walls tumbling down. And you also told us to download the digital revolution. And before I invite you to bring your message and shine the light, I want to remind us of your own words. Governments crack and systems fall, because unity is powerful. Lights go out, walls come tumbling down. Yes, they do, yes, they do, yes, they do. The competition is a color TV. We're on still pause with a video machine that keep you slave to the HP until the unity is threatened by those who have and who have not. That television can't be your guide to being able to build a better world. And when we remember what you said at the beginning, Rocky, you don't have to take this crap. You don't have to sit back and relax. You can actually try changing it. I know we've always been taught to rely upon those in authority, but you never know until you try how things just might be if we came together so strongly. It was as if those words were written for this moment. Can I ask Rocky to come to the stage? Rocky Daouni. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Mottley, for this glowing introduction. I'm really honored. Are we ready for the next phase? All right, if we're ready, I want all of us to stand. Let me see your hands in the air, everybody. The next phase is about us. Whoa, 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 whoa. every day, in every way. Oh, I'm gonna let my whole life shine. Every day, in every way. Oh, I'm gonna let my whole life shine. On and on and on and on, for the world to see. Yeah, yeah. Oh, people, I am ready. Chapter new beginning. When every little step I take will reach for a higher ground. It's not gonna be easy. Fate will let it be. And I know with you by my side it's all gonna be alright. I say, hey, I believe we can shine a light so bright, so bright. I say, hey, I believe we can shine a light so bright, so bright. Every day, in every way. Oh, I'm gonna let my whole life shine. Every day, in every way. I'm gonna let my whole life shine. On and on and on and on, for the world to see. Yeah, yeah. Light up the darkness with a positive spirit. Oh, let the sun shining in with a wave of a joyful sound. Whether high or low, I will not be afraid to lift my head up, reach and touch the skies. I say, hey, I believe we can shine a light so bright, so bright. I say, hey, I believe we can shine a light so bright, so bright. All together now, let's say, whoa, 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 whoa. Now we say, hey, I believe we can shine a light so bright. All together now, all together now, all together now, let's sing. Hey, I believe we can shine a light so bright. Let me hear you sing on the top of your voice because we're taking over. Let me hear you say it. Hey, I believe we can shine a light so bright. All together now, all together now, all together now, one more time. Yeah, I believe we can shine a light so bright. Yes, the next half is ours. Let's just go and claim it. God bless us all. Peace and love. Forward ever, backward never. Thank you very much.
Hey, hello, good evening. Hi. I'm Orlando Bloom. And I'm noticing that the teleprompter doesn't seem to be working. So I'm glad I brought my speech because I thought that might happen. It blacked out during the rehearsal. So anyway, I'm proud to be here tonight as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador. Can we hear it for Rocky Dawuni? So as we all know, children are the foundation of our future. And to secure this future, we need to make sure that all children everywhere both survive and thrive. This is the promise of the SDGs. At its very core, it means providing protection, healthcare, and quality education for every child everywhere. In terms of health, one of the greatest indicators of human progress has been the global reduction of under 5 mortality rates since the year 2000, which is fantastic. Yes. However, we need to reflect on how this progress is by no means universal. Thousands of children under the age of 5 still die every day. As a father of 2 young children myself, the pain of this reality, it's something that's just hard to conceive. And yet these deaths are mostly preventable through interventions such as improved care around the time of birth, nutritional supplements, clean, safe water, sanitation, and immunization. We have the solution, guys, and now it's time to double down on our commitment to make them more accessible and effective than ever. When it comes to education, it's clear that securing every child's right to learn is absolutely central to delivering the SDGs. Learning reduces poverty. It supports peace building, gender equality, and economic growth. And yet 244 million children are still out of school. And of the children that do go to school, millions still fail to grasp the crucial basics of reading and mathematics. We could face a generational catastrophe if we don't intensify our efforts to the end and learn about leaving this crisis behind us. Let's go into the second half of 2023 agenda with renewed energy, collaboration, determination, and let us never forget that children's rights, children's dreams, and children's futures are at the very heart of the Sustainable Development Goals. Let's use the goals to make the future fantastic for every child. And now, I will say it's my great pleasure to introduce a great and passionate campaigner, Sabrina Elba.
Not going to be easy to go after Orlando, I'll say that. Thank you for having me here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sabrina Elba, and I'm a Goodwill Ambassador for the International Fund for Agricultural Development, that's IFAD. And I want to remind us all that we're all here and that we all showed up this evening because I'm hoping we all care. Governments and experts have worked hard towards the SDGs agreed in 2015, and yes, they made some gains, but let's be honest. The problems grew faster than the solutions or the funding, and I have seen it firsthand with my own eyes. The challenges faced by the small-scale farmers who grow 1/3 of the world's food on only 1/10 of its farmland. Farmers who are efficient. They don't cause the environmental damage of large industrial farms. Farmers who look like me. We need to ask ourselves how we can continue to live the way we live when rural people who care for this planet and contribute the least to climate crisis suffer the most. This must change, and relatively modest investment projects working with governments and local people to share appropriate technologies and ways of organizing can transform lives, communities, and landscapes for the better. Programs to end poverty and hunger can simultaneously contribute to other goals, such as tackling climate change, and most importantly, improving gender equality. This issue is so important to me. I stand here with a promise to leave this world better than how it was when I came into it, and I hope you can all do the same. I am convinced that we can still achieve the SDGs in 7 years' time if we recognize that they are all interconnected and that we all must play our part. So again, let me remind us that we are all here because we care. Thank you.
Oh, if only my children cheered for me like that. Thank you so much to Orlando and Sabrina. My name's Richard Curtis. I'm a UN advocate for the SDGs. I'm a passionate believer in them. I think they are the best and only plan for the world. And of course, we're at the halfway, and when we hit the halfway point, all of us were struck by, as it were, the metaphor of a game, that you can always turn it around in the second half. And I do, my motto, as I've said many times to you, Amina, is in order to make things happen, you have to make things. And so, in a very surreal moment of my life, I managed by 3 managers and 4 assistants to reach Al Pacino. And he wrote back a very polite word to me saying, yeah, you go ahead, because the thing you're about to see is my favorite movie speech of all time, so far ahead of anything I've ever written or could write. And what it is, the setting, is that it's halfway through a brutal season when Al's team are down, just like the SDGs are down. And this is, as it were, the ultimate call to action. And I think it applies to all of us. Life is a game of inches. Each of us can, in our own way, push forward that crucial inch with this team and these SDGs. Take a look.
This is Al Pacino. The world has an epic plan called the Global Goals. And it's halftime. I don't know what to say, really. Either we heal as a team, or we're gonna crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now. And we can stay here, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. On this team, we fight for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's gonna make the difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. And I know if I'm gonna have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. The 6 inches in front of your face. Now, I can't make you do it. You gotta look at the guy next to you. Now, I think you're gonna see a guy who will go that inch with you. Hell yeah. You're gonna see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're gonna do the same for him. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals. Now, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. I'll tell Al's assistant that you enjoyed it. But that is the question to all of us. What are we going to do? What are the new tactics? What's new in our determination? Who are the new players that are needed? And we're calling to everybody to come on board for the second half of this game. And now, this is such a thrill for me to talk about real half-times. It's a thrill to bring on stage a man generally considered to be one of the greatest left-backs in soccer history. He played for Nice, for Monaco, for Marseille, for Juventus. He was the captain of the French national team. He was the captain of Manchester United. During his career, he's won 21 major trophies. I'd like to talk to him about half-time. Please welcome Patrice Evra. He's an excellent player and an excellent human. So I'm just going to nail you down, Patrice. So I'm just going to say, what in your memory was the time when things were kind of looking worse at halftime and you actually managed to turn it around?
I think many times. I think at halftime, that's when is the moment to regroup, to analyze if we are doing a good job or not. Sometimes you need also to accept the critic. You need to stay humble and to make sure, everything can change really fast. So you have to believe in yourself. As a captain, the things I didn't accept is when people give up. Because when you give up, that's when the fear starts to get to you. That's when you don't want to take risk. That's when you don't believe in the plan anymore. And I can't let this happen. But in the same way, I will show you, I will be here for you. I will make the sacrifice on the pitch for you, and you will have to do the same. We are all here. We are all a family. And we're talking about half-time, but we got time to change the things.
Yeah, and when you're playing a game, what are the kind of factors that you can change? Well, when you're there and you're behind, what do you look to make the difference?
It's also the way you communication. I think communication is key. Sometimes, when I was talking to a player, I will talk a different way to this player. I will maybe be stronger on this player because I know I'm going to get the best of him, and the other player are going to be softer. So communication is the key. And sometimes, we're talking about halftime when things are going wrong, but sometimes they're going well. Everything you plan is working, but that's when I feel even more the danger. That's when you need to be more focused. That's when you have to keep that discipline. I think discipline is my favorite word. Yeah. I've got sometimes a voice every day saying discipline yourself no matter what you're doing in life.
Yeah, so you hold on to the things that are working and try and change the things that aren't working.
But exactly, but it's all about, believe in yourself. Like you've been working all your life for that, for succeeding. And it won't be easy. Like if you ask me, my biggest win is, when I was 30 years old and I've been sexually abused by my head teacher, but I didn't give up. I'd never find it as an excuse. That was like, I didn't never call myself a victim, but a survivor. And he gave me that strength. That's why when people see I'm such a funny person or whatever, no, I had the trauma. In this world, everyone wants things fast. But it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. That's why we are halftime, and we're going to do it.
That is so marvelous. And my final question, who's the second best left back in history?
The first one I will say is Roberto Carlos, but just me being here is just a privilege. Like I said, last year I was in the UN and making that speech, and when I think that kid come from nothing, I was begging money to buy a sandwich, and for me to be here tonight with you and sharing all those experiences, I'm just living a dream.
Well, thank you very much indeed. It's really gorgeous.
Thank
you. I'm such an optimist, and this is what I see. These actors, these players, these people working, people in business fighting really hard, people in politics fighting really hard, people in NGOs fighting really hard. And I do think that together they're a much more impressive bunch than the bad guys. And we've got much better ideas. And I have really high hopes for the SDGs. And now, a moment of reflection. So I teased the man who's about to come on, and I said, shall I introduce you as the second best cellist in the world today? And he said that would be all right. But the truth is, he is the greatest living cellist. And he's about to come on and play a piece of music. And I remember the first time I heard it, I thought that is the sound of being at peace and the sound of actually being alive. And peace and joy and tenderness are the actual things that we're fighting for, not just, as it were, crops and money. You're fighting for a decent, good, and wonderful life. So I'm incredibly proud to introduce to you the great, accompanied by Amir Siraj, the great Yo-Yo Ma.
Good evening. What better way during this crucial moment in human history to give us perspective than by taking us into the mysteries of the universe through these images from the James Webb Space Telescope, accompanied by the playing of the pianist and astrophysicist, my good friend, Amir Siraj. The music of Arvo Pärt, Mirror in Mirror, the universe and humanity reflected in one another.
Hello. I don't know about you, how lucky we are to be alive, to experience music. It's Excellencies, friends, colleagues, my name is Nikolaj Coster-Waldau. I'm a UNDP Goodwill Ambassador. And let's give him one more applause, please. Watching those beautiful images of the Earth makes it easy, painful, for me to talk for a moment about this critical time in our fight against the climate crisis. Now, every indicator on climate shows that we're heading in the wrong direction. Carbon pollution is at its highest level in human history, continues to rise. I mean, the last 8 years have been the hottest in recorded history. It's not winter that's coming, I'm sorry. It's a terrible summer of suffering for too many places and people. The world's top scientists have confirmed that nearly half of humanity is already living in the climate danger zone. On the current course, global heating is headed for a 2.88 Celsius degrees, a change that by the end of the century could destroy entire countries and economies and even threaten human survival. We continue to see the most proof of the climate emergency everywhere, every day. Floods, droughts, wildfires, heat waves have struck countries across the world, hitting the poorest, the most vulnerable, the hardest. We need to act now to give 1.5% degrees a fighting chance. And that means cutting carbon pollution right now, delivering climate justice for everyone on the front lines. We need leaders to grab this moment, to lead on behalf of us and our precious planet, to collaborate across all sectors for urgent climate action. Because the good news is the world still has a narrow window of opportunity to act and secure a livable planet today and for generations to come. The time is running out. Choices we make and actions we take this week and year after year will have impacts now and for thousands of years ahead. So the time for excuses, delayed action, baby steps is over. It's us, right now, that hold the future in our hands. And people around the world are speaking up, louder than ever, for raised ambition, urgent action. Helena Gualinga is one of those strong voices, and I'm proud to introduce her to you, here, right now. Helena.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Helena Gualinga. I come from the Quechua people of Sarayaku in the Ecuadorian Amazon. My people have been fighting oil since I can remember. But not only are we on the front lines against extractive industries, we're also on the front lines to climate change. However, I want to share something positive. Last month, we celebrated a huge victory for the Amazon and for the planet. When Ecuadorians, in a historic referendum, overwhelmingly voted to end oil exploitation in a critical parcel of the Yasuni National Park. The Yasuni National Park is also known as the most biodiverse place on the planet. Not only will this historic referendum protect the forest and indigenous peoples, it also sets a crucial precedent, as it is the first time a country has voted democratically on the issue of resource extraction, and let alone one that is active. I feel so proud of my friends, of the youth, and the indigenous people of Ecuador who worked for decades to make this happen. I am so proud that my whole country is showing that we are a people that is protecting and committed to protecting the Amazon rainforest and its people. At the At the halfway mark of the SDGs, we must reflect and celebrate the hard-won wins that we made happen. This win was a long time coming. As Indigenous communities, we have been fighting for our lands before the SDGs even came into being. Where I come from, the vast majority of pristine rainforest is on Indigenous land. And globally, over 80% of the world's biodiversity is on Indigenous lands. We need Indigenous peoples' rights, autonomy, and sovereignty respected to keep protecting the planet and its forests. Yesterday, thousands of people across the world took to the streets to demand the phase out of fossil fuel so that we can combat climate change. In Ecuador, we are actually making it happen, but we cannot do it alone. We need others to follow our example, other countries to phase out of fossil fuel. We need to learn from our success and build on it together. Everyone keeps asking me, what comes next? What are you and your friends gonna do? What is next for the Indigenous movement, the youth movement? All I can say and promise is that we will not stop here, and neither should you. Thank you so much.
Please welcome UN Secretary General's SDG Advocate and UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador for Peace and Reconciliation, Forrest Whitaker.
Peace and justice for all are enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations, and yet conflict and injustice are still experienced every day across the world. Today, 1/4 of humanity lives in conflict-affected areas. There are 35 million refugees displaced across borders. We must not allow the facets, the effects of conflict to ravage society. We cannot accept seeing people's hopes shattered with their future taken away from them. At the halfway point of the goals, we must support people living in conflict, prioritize those most at risk, foster work for peace everywhere. And we need to urgently take action to restore trust and strengthen the capacity of institutions to secure justice for all and drive sustainable development. I've campaigned for peace for over a decade and advocated for the SDGs through my work. And I've seen that to achieve peace and justice, we need sustainable development. In undermining root causes of the conflict, we need sustainable development. The SDGs is the most effective blueprint we have to ensure universal access to fundamental human rights that ensure our security and our prosperity. As we come together now to commit to the acceleration of the SDGs in the second half, the voices of participation must be ensured. Young people are the torch makers for change and are crucial in the protection of human rights, as demonstrated by their commitment and activism across the world. So it's a great pleasure to introduce the 2023 United States Youth Poet Laureate, Salome Ibrahim. Salome?
Have you heard of that place over the horizon that no one has seen, but everyone wants to go? That place they call Oasis, where water runs clear, glittering bodies of endless blue, trickling tributaries and springs sustaining life above and below it, where the hawksbill turtles wade and the bluefin tuna swim without plastic nets around their necks. Have you seen the oasis where oaks and timbers grow green and lush from fertile black beating soil, branches extending far beyond imagination, bearing full ripe fruits as far as eyes can see, where macaws chirp and orangutans swing and armor leopards prowl? The oasis powered by its greens and streams and sunbeams. And at the end of day, you see a million stars in an obsidian sky, ozone unobstructed by carbon clouds, nothing but crisp air inhalation and inexplicable peace. Haven't you seen the kids beaming and full-bellied, boys and girls basking in equal opportunity and health, plucking fruit from the foliage, laughing for its sweetness and abundance and innocence? As juice drips betwixt fingertips, haven't you seen the people satisfied and sustained, harvesting all of what they need but never anymore? Solidarity is the only language they speak. And in that language, there is no word for war and pillage and steal. Only thank you, grace, and together. If you knew of this place, wouldn't you want to go? Even if the road was paved with uncertainty, tribulation, bottle caps, and mishaps. And if I said you were just halfway there, would you fall to your knees amidst the deserted battleground, the wilting wilderness, the incinerated pages and piles of plastics, the deafeningly hot, weathered rock etching extinction into your waving white flag? No, we must go for every tree that must grow, for every species worth saving, for every child that needs books, for every conflict that needs resolution, for every woman that deserves equality. Let's reach the end zone and make it to that beautiful place no one has ever seen, but everyone wants to go. In our lives, on our earth, that place that we call oasis.
Thank you, Salome, for those beautiful, uplifting words. Hasn't this been such an uplifting evening? We've heard tonight about many of the challenges, but crucially, we've heard about solutions. And now's the time to mobilize the political commitment our world needs to get the goals back on track and support the organizations, advocates, and activists making a difference every day. It's also an opportunity for all of us here tonight and watching around the world, governments, citizens, civil society, the private sector, to advocate for urgency, ambition, and action to realize these goals. When historians write about the 21st century, they will judge leaders and policymakers by whether they have succeeded in transforming this blueprint into reality. It is now up to all of us to ensure that the Sustainable Development Goals are achieved in full and on time. We need to make a personal commitment to the goals in our own lives, and then spread that awareness and action through all the work that we do every day. So, as we get ready to go out again and win the second half, let's end tonight on a beat of hope and inspiration. Please welcome to the stage international sensation, Grammy Award-winning singer and songwriter, and UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, Angelique Kidjo.
Well, good evening, everybody. I am so proud to be taking part in this beautiful event, but I'm not good at speeches. So, I'll talk about the SDGs later on. First, let's sing with my friend, my brother. This one here, oh Lord help me. There you go. That's it. I'm telling you, man, hanging out with this guy is heaven. But sometimes I laugh so hard I can't sing. But today we're gonna behave. Like I trust you. So, ladies and gentlemen, Yo-Yo-Ma. So the song I'm gonna sing is to thank everybody. This is halfway to reach what we said we were gonna do. And I wanna thank you and thank everybody that have worked so hard for us to get to this middle ground. I'm gonna sing for that, and I'm gonna sing for the effort what we're gonna do to reach out, to reach those goals. We have to, we don't have the choice, by putting at the center children's rights, but also gender equality. Let's go for it, Yo-Yo. Yo-Yo-Ma. Okay. Now to launch us into this second half of progress for this precious world that we all share. I always say Earth does not discriminate. So if it doesn't, so what we're talking about, putting the SDG at the center of everything, should be a no-brainer. We all know very well that without this planet, there's no UN, there's no president, there's no government, there's nothing. Because we don't have earth, where do you go? Nowhere, right? So I am a great believer of working together. And I think if all of us, as artists, advocate, ambassador, regular people that we reach out to, that see and feel the impact of the global climate change, the SDG becomes something that we don't even have to talk much about. By reducing poverty, put children to school, and women financial freedom, we need women at the center of the SDGs. That's the only way we can move forward, because we are educators. We bring life to this world. If we do not put an emphasis also on gender equality, we will not succeed. We need men and women together. So, to celebrate, I want to invite my sister, the one and only, one of those, I call her a woman of steel, from the next generation of artists that is coming from my continent. I've been talking about this revolution for a long time. People look at me like I was stupid. And I'm telling you, when we come from Africa with our music, we're gonna sweep you up. You get into the boat or the train, wherever you're getting in. You don't get in, you're left behind. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Yemi Alade. Okay, let's hear the music then.
Yes.
Life with dignity doesn't exist. Oh, via your way for the air, no blow sec, air, no blow yelly. Oh, via your way for the meda, oh, via your way for the deck poche, oh, via your way for the deck pen, oh, via your way for the deck pen, oh, via your way for the dignity. Can't save you or kill you. Dignity, I wanna hold on to you. Dignity, can hurt you or heal you. Dignity, I wanna hold on to you.
Were you there? Yes, I did. When the gunman shoot man down, no retreat, no surrender. If them push you, no fall down. Many come, many go. We know the sleep, we there for all. We come in peace, not in pieces. Oh yeah, but hey, respect is reciprocal. Is reciprocal. Respect is reciprocal. My Oga, oh, respect is reciprocal. Oh, it's reciprocal. Okay, where they did this guys, I don't tire, oh, as I they look your eyes, giant of Africa.
When will life be better? You promise me tomorrow,
but nobody sees tomorrow. I don't tire. I don't tire.
Hey. Why you do they lie?
I don't tire. I don't tire. I don't tire. My God, respect is reciprocal. Oh, it's reciprocal. My God, oh,
respect is reciprocal.
Oh, it's reciprocal. Were you there? It's a day when the gunman shoot men down. No retreat, no surrender. If them push you, no fall down. Many come, many go. We know they sleep, we there for all. We come in peace, not in pieces. Oh yeah. Respect is reciprocal.
The last frontier of our own sanity. Spread your love to all equally. It's the seeds of radical beauty.
The wind will blow, light will show real beauty on a brand new day. We will blow, light will show real beauty on a brand new day. 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 Always reciprocal. Oh my God, respect is reciprocal. Respect is reciprocal. Everybody stand with your hands straight. Respect is is reciprocal.
Have a wonderful evening. And let's get to work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.